Today, what I'd like to present is the 2016 Corporate Operating Plan and Electric Service Tariff Update. This presentation is presented for final consideration and approval of the board. The presentation was presented last month by Vice President Easterlin, and it was a much more detailed presentation. There have been no changes to this proposal in the last 30 days, so this is a summarized version of that presentation. To support a corporate operating plan, it requires a budget, of course, and the budget request for 2016 is $1.235 billion. We'll walk through this on a category basis. We'll start at the bottom of this graph with the large blue area. That's the largest piece of the budget. That's for non-fuel O&M. So this is the expenses to run the business. That request is $543.7 million, or 44% of the budget. We're clockwise around that graph. The next category is debt service and miscellaneous expenses. The budget request there is $137.8 million, or 11.2% of the budget. Now that's to pay the principal and interest payments on our bonds. The small blue category is payment in lieu of taxes. That's $32.7 million, or that's 2.6% of the budget. The next category, the darker rust color, is capital expenditures. That's expenditures to improve and build the infrastructure of our systems. And that's $230.4 million, or 18.7% of the budget. The second largest category is the last one, or the orange color. That's the fuel and purchase power, and that's $290.5 million, or 23.5% of the budget. So in total, the budget request is, again, $1.235 billion. To support this budget, it will require a general rate increase of $35 million. This increase is not due to additional expenditures or escalation in expenditures. It's as a result of reductions in revenue streams, and there are two streams to that. The first one is retail energy consumption is reducing, and the second one is the wholesale market revenue margins have decreased. The actions we've taken to minimize this reduction are three categories. The first one is district-wide cost reduction initiatives. There have been several of those. Those initiatives have taken $44 million out of the operating and maintenance expenses. We don't believe any of these reductions will impact safety, reliability of the system, or customer service. The second one is a reduction in the pension funding. And pension plans have gains or losses on their investments, and those are spread out or smoothed over a period. We call it an amortization. Our current period is a 15-year amortization. We've extended that to a 20-year, and we've restarted the amortization period. So that reduced the funding in 16 by $10 million. The third category is the item you just discussed, the temporary suspension of the funding for the supplemental fund of decommissioning for Fort Calhoun. That was an $11 million reduction in 2016. So those three items brought the O&M expenses, operating maintenance expenses, down by $65 million. Now, 4% rate increase, what's the impact on our customers? So we're requesting a 4% general rate increase. Along with that, we have a fuel and purchase power adjustment, and that adjustment is reviewed each year for the anticipated cost for the coming year of those two items. With the review of the fuel and purchase power, we will have a reduction of 0.6% in the fuel and purchase power adjustment. So the net of those two will be an overall average customer increase of 3.4%. Now, our customers are in four classes. It's residential, commercial, industrial, and lighting. So the impact to a residential bill with this increase, the average residential bill is slightly above $100. It's $100.90 with our current rates. This rate proposal would increase those monthly bills by $4.04, or that's a 4% rate increase. And the average commercial bill is approximately $535 per month. That bill would go up $9.48 with this change, or a 1.8% increase. The industrial class, you can see, has a rate increase of 4.4, and then lighting is an increase of 0.1%. So overall average increase is 3.4%. Now, individual customers are going to see a variation. These are averages I'm giving you. They will see a variation depending on their usage or the rate schedule they're on in each one of those classes. And you might have the question, if the system is, the average is going up 3.4, why are some below that and above that? We take our budget and we break it down to a cost of service, and we look at the cost to serve each one of those classes, and then we're adjusting the 2015 rates. That's the base, and we adjust it towards cost of service. So some need a higher rate to get to their cost of service, and some are already closer to that cost of service. That's why the variation. Along with the 4%, we have some miscellaneous rate and service charge adjustments. Those are in 4 categories. First one is miscellaneous consumer service charges. And that line item is line extension for new residential and commercial service. Again, that's bringing those charges up to cost of service. The second one are service charges or service regulations, and there's some minor wording changes. Every year we review all of our schedules to make sure if there's any outdated language or dates or for consistency. So there's some wording changes there. And the last one then is other schedules. We have 2 new street light methods that we're adding, and then we've also got some cleanup language there. This corporate operating plan and rate proposal was presented to the board in their November committee meeting on the 10th, and then we reviewed it again on the 12th at the public board meeting. It was presented this last Tuesday, and then we're presenting it today for consideration. We've had media coverage, both newspaper, television, and radio. The plan has been posted on our website since the November meeting, and we received 4 public comments on the proposal. Now, when you look at retail rates, we talk about those at average cents per kilowatt hour. This plan, if approved, would take OPPD's average cents per kilowatt hour to 8.84 cents. The West North Central region average is 9.52 cents, and the national average is 10.64% cents. This plan would leave OPPD's rates 7.1% below the regional average and 16.9% below the national average. When you look at electric rates, it's best to look not year to year, but over a period of time. And utilities are a very capital-intensive industry. We do large investments, and they're kind of chunky. They come in big amounts. And how we finance those is over a 30-year period. So that smooths out the cost of those investments. So when you look at retail rates, it's prudent to look at those as the same as your investments. So this is a 30-year look. We finance most of our investments over 30 years. And if you would go back and look at our rates in 1986, our average cents per kilowatt hour was 5.05 cents. The request today is to move that to 8.84. That's a 1.9% average increase each year over that 30-year period. The rest of goods and services had grown at an inflation rate at 2.5% per year. So if you went back and took the 5.05 cents per kilowatt hour and grew it at the inflation rate, which is what other goods and services and products grew at, we would be asking for a 10.64 rate increase today, or cents per kilowatt hour. That's 21% higher than what we're requesting. Now, these plans are reviewed have independent reviews. NewGen Strategies and Solutions reviewed the corporate operating plan. They've provided you, the board, a recommendation letter, which was included with your board items. The quote from them is, "The expenditures anticipated by the district are reasonable and are the type that would be expected by a utility following following prudent utility practices. The Brattle Group has reviewed the general rate and rate increase and adjustments. They also have provided you a letter of recommendation. And their quote out of the letter is, "We find the proposed rates changes to be fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory." So in summary, OPPD's mission is to provide affordable, reliable, and environmentally sensitive energy services to our customers. This is direct language out of the board's strategic directive 1A. Now, we used this year, this is the first year we've had the board directives to put together the corporate operating plan. We reviewed those in building the plan, and I have 3 of them that I'd kind of like to highlight here. First one is rates remain below the regional and national averages. That supports strategic directive 2 on competitive rates. Expenditures are sufficient to maintain system reliability. That supports strategic directive 4, which was based on reliability. And the last one is renewable resources generate 16% of retail energy. That supports strategic directive 7, which is environmental stewardship. So as management operates the system in 2016, we will continue to look for opportunities to make the utility more efficient. So we will manage the operations and maintenance expenditures. We'll prioritize and manage capital investments, and we'll continue to identify and manage risk across the system.